Hey everybody, welcome to Live in Between on True Chat. Yes, I'm in Cincinnati, Ohio, which is where I was last week, and the week before, and the week before, and the week before. So, that's where I am. And today, as I talked about in last week's video, I was going to discuss a topic that one of you brought up that you wanted me to talk about. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about something that one of you guys suggested. And I'm not going to mention the person's name because I didn't ask if I could, and I don't really think it's obviously relevant. They're going to know who they are, and nevertheless, it is a good topic. So I would like to preface this by saying you've probably seen the episode title, but if you're listening to the audio version, then I would encourage you again to go check out the video version, because there is a video version of this, and vice versa. So if you're watching the YouTube version of this, you can download the True Chat app, TrueChat, and you can listen to it there or watch it actually. But anyway, as was requested by one of you guys out there, they wanted me to talk about, kind of not really talk about, because they said it wasn't a topic piece. It was more of like, this is something that I'm struggling with in my life, so if there's any way you can integrate it and talk about it, that'd be cool. And this is a guy that I know who lives in a different state, and he's, you know, a friend of mine, and obviously also a viewer of this show. And he said, I mean, you guys are all my friends, but I don't know a lot of you, and I've only met this guy like once, I think, but still, I think that it's important to talk about like how we identify gender-wise. And I did want to preface this by saying, again, if you've seen the title of this video, it's important to note this is not like specifically about transgender stuff, and I'm not transgender, but that doesn't mean I don't think that we shouldn't talk about it, because it's still worth noting, it's still worth looking at, you know, maybe how I've struggled with it, how other people have, and kind of what it does to society. So, you know, talking about what does it mean to be a guy, or a boy, or a male, or, you know, what have you, what does that mean? As we all know, like with all stereotypes, there are certainly things that are true because they're the majority of the way people act. But obviously with being a guy, there's a multitude of things that people have in their minds that go with that, like being masculine, liking women, and then there's some other things that are kind of less maybe gender specific, but they are reflected in men, like being the head of the household, taking care of the family, providing, you know, whether that's monetarily or, you know, whether that's kind of like the steady hand that keeps everything in order. And those aren't necessarily bad things. I just don't know that if in today's society they are necessarily like the specific, that you have to stick to those roles. So a lot of people, you know, who have made maybe videos that focus on the same topic have talked about, oh, we just need to shed all these, you know, gender roles and who needs them. And I kind of agree with that, but at the same time, it's not like it's wrong if you fit that stereotype, as long as you're not like intentionally trying to fit that stereotype, which I know maybe sounds kind of confusing, but that's like really the point is, you know, if I want to wear high heels, I guess, you know, does that mean that I can't take care of the family any less? I mean, no. Now people might think I'm weird because I don't exactly look like the type of person who'd be walking around, you know, in high heels, but that's kind of besides the point. So getting back to this guy's particular, you know, scenario where he feels he's gay and he feels like he's seeing himself more as a woman, yet his workplace, and for what it's worth, lives in a fairly liberal area. You know, they preach diversity and they talk about diversity, and then you actually get to carrying it out and it's like they're just checking a box. And I can understand the frustration with that, because there's a lot of people out there who are like, oh yes, we accept you, you know, we're fine with like who you are, and there goes my phone. And so anyway, probably gonna cut that out, but maybe not, we'll see. So if you're watching it, you're laughing at me, hooray. That was actually another True Chatter that just texted me, so important stuff. But point being that when we look at this type of thing, you've got to think about, you know, it's hard for the other people. It's hard for us, whether you're, you know, gay, bi, whatever, or you're transgender. It's hard for us because they don't necessarily fully understand it, but at the same time, it's hard for them because they don't understand it. Even if they want to, that can make it very difficult still to get in there and really understand what's going on. So I think that keeping that in mind is helpful when we approach this, because I think there's a lot of people out there with the right intentions And again, it goes back to what I talked about last week. You just gotta ask the questions. Don't be, and you know, if you're out there and you don't get this stuff very well, just ask questions about it. And you know, you can even start out by saying, like we talked about last week, that you're not meaning to be mean about the issue. Meaning, yeah, I know I like just stuttered there and caught myself in words. Meaning to be mean, you're just trying to learn more. And by just starting out with that, even though it sounds kind of funny to say it when you're having the conversation, it sets a different tone. You know, it makes people know that you're asking because you care and you want to become more educated, not because you're trying to be, you know, a dick, for lack of a better term. That's what I can come up with on the spot. So I want to go on by saying that me personally, because that's kind of what Life in Between is about, is talking about my life and how I've lived in between. I think that that's where some of the initial questioning came in. You know, we look at little kids and they really, they don't have any discrimination against who they play with, male or female, you know, or black or white, or, you know, funny looking or not funny looking or whatever. They don't, it's just, you just play, you know? And that's because we teach those stereotypes when I don't think that we need to. There's no reason to. You know, maybe you as, you know, maybe 20 years ago or something, a parent, and I mean even today, a parent, you know, has a boy and they decide, they see it, you know, playing with the girls' Barbie dolls, and they're like, oh no, you don't want to do that, here's a Tonka Truck, play with the Tonka Truck. You know, that type of thing where parents don't really, sometimes they're not even intentionally doing it. It's not like they're trying to be like, oh, let's fit this stereotype. It's just like, oh, well, boys don't do that. So, you know, here's this. But I think inadvertently what we do, and the reason that I think we focus more on the male side of things with this issue, not that it isn't true of women too, and I'm gonna get to that, but we only have so long in this video, is because I think there's a lot of things about not opening up to feelings which cause some of this, you know, this conflict and this nitty-gritty argument stuff that we get into as guys, because it's kind of like stand your turf and make your point and like all that, you know, type of thing, which sometimes leads to being hard on the inside and not letting people you know, understand your feelings and that type of stuff. So I think that's probably why we focus on it more. But on the flip side of things, with females, I think they feel this need to be more gossipy, which ultimately leads to a lot of open, you know, hurt and hatred amongst people, where guys might keep it quiet, or, you know, they get into a fight and then it's over. So a lot of women just hold on to it forever because it's like this need that they have to gossip and have drama, and that's what, you know, that's what girls do. And it's like, no, we don't have to do that. You know, now those things come through in both sexes, obviously, but I think that there's definitely, you know, certain people who are more that way than other people, and it doesn't have to be about gender. So this week's video, to sum everything up, is basically about just, you know, kind of letting that stuff go. And it's hard. It takes, you know, it takes time. It takes multiple generations to move past things. It took us a long time with gay rights, but once we really got it going, it helped a lot. And now we're facing, you know, transgender rights issues, and it's kind of the same thing. I try to stay positive because I think we're making a lot of good progress, and I try to believe that people are like inherently good and not terrible people. So obviously there's people out there who just are going to be assholes, and you can't, you know, not so much you can do about it. But there's plenty of people out there who are just, sometimes you catch them, you know, at the wrong moment, you say the wrong thing, it rubs them the wrong way. And the whole, you know, walk a mile in somebody else's shoes, I think that's something that we all have to keep in mind more, because it really helps us come back to it. It would be very easy for me to just continually be, you know, very upset at my family, and it's like, oh, you guys should have, you know, made it clear that I could have come out sooner and like been more accepting and not force me into gender roles and so on and so forth. Like, I could do that, but that's not how I feel. I mean, aside from, there are moments, of course, where it feels like that would be what I want to do. There's a lot of good to look at there. They've been tremendously good in terms of my immediate family, and a lot of my extended family has been pretty understanding and open to it. You know, not as much as I would like, but a lot more than most families. So I could look at it and stay down and be upset and be like, oh, you know, oh, woe is me, poor me, but that doesn't really fix anything. So what I choose to do is stay positive about it, be willing to talk about it, you know, do this show, And just, I mean, I've had a lot of good friends. I've had people at True Chat, I've had other people that I met who, you know, they know that I do this stuff, and sometimes they don't even watch, but they feel comfortable asking me questions because they're like, I'm just curious. I just want to know, like, how does this work, or how does that work, or, you know, what's it like to do this? Like, what's it like when you and Brett go out on a date as opposed to if you were with a female? You know, it's just, there's some questions like that, and living a life in between like I do leads to even more questions because I don't think everybody understands it as well. But I always sum it up in the simplest of terms of I'm emotionally attracted to certain people, and the physical attraction is either there or it's not, which isn't really based all that much around gender, which kind of ties back nicely into what this video is about of, you know, what's it mean to be a guy? And the answer to that is, I think it kind of means whatever you want it to mean. It means, you know, figure out who you are, and that's the type of guy you are. I think there's some very noble things about the stereotypes of being, you know, men, so to speak, taking care of your family, you know, being respectful and honorable, and some of those characteristics are great qualities that everybody should have, right? Not just guys. I mean, you want women to have those qualities as well, I would think, but those are the type of things that I think, you know, those are some really good characteristics. And with both genders, there's some good and some bad that are part of the stereotypes, and we just need to work on those and see, you know, how it goes. So, let me know what you think of today's video. Next week, we're gonna do something with Austin and Nikolai. Again, you saw the Q&A, which is actually at the top of the screen right now in the suggestions, so make sure that you check that out, please. But Austin came up with questions for Brett and I to answer in our Q&A part 2 and Q&A part 1, which is now up here in the suggestion pane, and I may be pointing to the wrong side of the screen. No, I don't think I am. I think it's up here. Yeah? Okay. Well, we're gonna find out. But nonetheless, check those out because those were really good videos, and next week we're gonna do something with them. We've come up with like a couples tag instead of like boyfriend tag. We may still do that, but we're probably gonna do that next week, so we're gonna take a break. We've done 2 weeks with me of kind of heavier topics again, so I'm kind of trying to rotate it like 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, like light stuff, then heavy stuff, light stuff, then heavy stuff. So let me know if you like that format, okay? And like, comment, subscribe. Below, links to my social media are there, and subscribe. You can always leave comments with questions, or you can tweet at me, you can message me on Facebook, whatever you need to do, okay? It's at Justin T. Weller, which is at the top of the screen as well. And you should definitely let me know what you think, because I just spent a whole episode basically responding to somebody's thoughts. So, and I could have spent even longer. But again, thank you all for watching. And from Cincinnati, Ohio, as always, on Life in Between, download that True Chat app. I'm Justin Weller on this beautiful Sunday. We're gonna spend some time outside, and I'll see you next time on Life in Between.